son is racing.
Welcome, race fans, to another episode of the Rubbin' Is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show. We have all your action from Talladega Motor Speedway for the 1000bulbs.com 500. That's right, kids. We're going restrictor plate racing this weekend in the South, which means pure guessing on your fantasy lineups. As there's not a ton of information I can provide you, I'm going to give you mine and Liehr's thoughts on this week. And as you can see, I'm a man down as Liehr's in Iowa visiting his mother. But I think I can fill you in on all the pertinent information that you need this week. Stages are going to be at lap 55, lap 110, and then they'll go the final 78 laps all the way to the finish. Fun fact here is that since the history of DFS NASCAR, the pole sitter has not been on the winning lineup ever. Just food for thought. When we go racing, it should be sunny with temps in the low 80s today at 2:05 Eastern on NBC. We're on the main network again this week. All right, kids. So something really interesting happened this week. As we know, with restrictor plates, anything can happen. You're always just waiting for the big one that's going to amass a ton of carnage and eliminate a ton of fantasy lineups. So instead of just going down the list and giving you guys our burning rubber picks like normal, we're just going to quickly run through what we saw during qualifying and how that's going to affect the race today. I think that's more pertinent information for a restrictor plate track, especially the way things happen during qualifying. The really interesting part is we seem to have had each of the separate teams qualifying in packs. It's really interesting because you have Stewart-Haas literally occupying spots 1 through 4. You then have Team Hendrick in the next group of spots, followed by Joe Gibbs Racing, with Martin Truex Jr. sandwiched in there. Then we go on all the way down to Team Penske, who qualified 18th, 19th, and 20th. These guys are going to be the favorite drivers to play this week in Keselowski, Blaney, and Logano. It's because where they're starting from, they're absolutely perfect plays this week as long as they don't get caught up in the carnage. Now, at a restrictor plate track, it might make sense to even fade these guys if you're designing lineups on trying to get unique, because after all, that's just the function of a restrictor plate track, is trying to get unique and hoping that you pick the right combination that avoids the carnage. We've also got guys like Austin Dillon, Ryan Newman, Dinger, Bain in the 20s range. It gets kind of sketch on where you want to play those guys, but once again, the valuest of value plays here can pay off as long as they stay on the track, as long as they don't get caught up in the carnage. And we've seen some crazy lineups on restrictor plate tracks. There are people out there that will play 0 cars starting above the 30th position. And that lineup has actually taken down this tournament a couple of times, people that play those lineups, and they're absolutely insane. But it has worked, so who am I to critique what has won people lots of money? Now, when we're looking at the prices of comparison, Keselowski and Logano are super expensive this week, but like I said, they're the right plays. I then don't want, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I don't want a Stewart-Haas car because of where they're all starting. And I know that's insane, and it is insane to fade the best team out there, but they're starting 1 through 4, and at a restrictor plate track, that just, unless something really screwy happens, there's just almost statistically no way these guys are going to be on the winning lineup. So, although it pains me to say so, from a fantasy perspective, I don't think you want any of Stewart-Haas racing this week. I think where you might want to start playing guys is outside the 10 spot. So Hamlin, you know how I feel about Hamlin. I won't be personally playing Hamlin this week at all. But the play I really do like to anchor your team, and he's super low priced, is Martin Truex Jr. at 8,400 starting 11th. That's about where we start to see the plays making sense on a restrictor plate. But once again, if the guys in the back of the field get to the teens just by wrecks, there's almost no way Martin Truex Jr. can outpoint them. That's why people like doing those scrub-heavy lineups at a restrictor plate. Another play that people seem to like is Eric Jones. The Kyle Larson play is essentially the free square of the week, starting 34th for Chip Ganassi Racing. Once again, when you talk about a free square at a restrictor plate track, there is theory out there that would tell you to automatically fade that play, especially if you're a limited lineup person. That way you're unique from the field in case something happens. But once again, he's starting from such a poor position. I also really like Menard below him starting 30th. They're starting from such poor positions, and they're good drivers. So if they can make it through the carnage, there's almost no scenario where he's not on the winning lineup, as long as they make it through the carnage. But that's a big if at a restrictor plate, especially when a guy like Kyle Larson at 8K is probably going to be 45 to 65% owned. And at a restrictor plate, that means that if you're playing limited lineups, you may want to fade. Just some game theory strategy there. I know Liehr wanted me to talk about that play. Don't count out Austin Dillon starting 21st as well. He has a win at the restrictor plate tracks this season at the Daytona 500. It's not the worst of plays. It's not the best of plays in my opinion either, but he's a guy to consider. J-Mac starting 31 is also a play that you want to be considering, as well as Newman at 22nd, Bain at 24th. I mean, we've seen what that car has done in and out this week, in and out this year. You can't find a driver. It hasn't been performing well enough. I'm not sure that's a play I want to make. I like it. I like the next couple of guys better in Chris Buescher and Regan Smith and Allmendinger, even though they're starting a little higher up than what I want them at this track. Once again, carnage can make or break here. We've seen guys like Regan Smith have top 10, and Buescher have top 10 finishes at restrictor plate tracks. If they do that here via missing the carnage, they're going to pay off dramatically. And the same goes for anybody I can mention. Liehr would probably want me to tell you that the Michael McDowell and David Reagan plays are sneaky if they can if they can avoid the wrecks and get their way into the top 10. I don't know that they have enough points that they can produce you enough points this week. Once again, guys, these plays down here at the basement are really interesting as long as the guys can stay on the track and as long as you get the carnage that you need. Like the Chastains of the world, the Castles of the world, the J.J. Yellies of the world. Normally, those guys are not in play, but I really believe they're in play this week here at the restrictor plate. All right, guys, we'll be back next week with a full slate. I tried to give you all the information I can. I'll have Liehr back with me next week. We'll catch you up on the winners. Want to apologize for missing last week on technical difficulties. Just a lot of issues last week. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Hopefully you found this information helpful. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and have a good one, guys. Later.